The social networking I use is Facebook, and I'm always on it. I use my phone the most because it's to keep in touch with my dad when I'm away, or keep in touch with family members of my church when someone's injured or for praying.
I use Facebook. I use Twitter a little bit, really not that much. Everybody has Facebook. Like Uvo, Skype's, like not everybody has that. Twitter, not everybody has it.
I use Facebook mostly.
Facebook, I'm on it like all the time.
I have Facebook. I used to have a MySpace.
I'm barely on Facebook. I don't use Twitter at all. I mean, I used to go on Tumblr, but it's just not interesting to me. Basically, everyone texts now, so if you want to get a hold of somebody, you text them.
Texting. I never go a day without texting.
I just recently got texting for my birthday, so I'm kind of like always on it.
I hate texting. I hate the cell phones. I wish I grew up in the 80s because like you just met up everywhere and you had a good time.
I think the social network's great because I'm going to college next year actually, so I'm finding a lot of people that are going to my college and I can kind of, meet them in advance.
I think now it's like a big part of how people communicate. I mean, I know I log on to Facebook at least once a day typically. I mean, if I'm really busy, I won't, but I think people depend on it a lot to communicate with others.
Even though we may have grown up with it, the social networking world is a fairly new phenomenon.
First there was Friendster, then MySpace, and then Facebook, just in a matter of 10 years.
Originally designed for college students, Facebook took off when it opened up to high school students and people of all ages.
Youth ministers and teachers jumped on, and it seems like only a year or two ago, the whole world and their grandmothers literally joined in.
Twitter, YouTube, and other forms of social networking have followed.
And by now, it's a way of life for most Americans, and really anyone with internet connection or a smartphone.
Social networking, that's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Kenny.
And I'm Vanessa, and this is Real Faith TV.
Our guest today is Chloe, an RFTV cast member and proficient user of social media.
We'll talk with her in a few minutes, as well as meet our studio guests.
But first, let's go back to the teens on the street and see what they like most about the social networking tools they use.
And if there's any guidelines or rules they follow when using them.
I just like being in touch with people, that you're not normally in touch with sometimes, or you can just meet new people.
It's easy and it's fast.
It's an easy way to communicate with other people.
I get to see what everyone's up to, see friends that I haven't seen in a long time.
You can kind of see everybody's stuff without them knowing.
I could communicate with people that maybe moved, like I have some friends that live in different states.
A lot of my family is overseas. A lot of my friends, they're in the military, so that's how I communicate with them.
It's a good way to keep in touch with people that, even if you graduate high school and they're going off to college, you want to keep in touch with them.
Are there certain rules or guidelines you follow when you participate in social networking?
I don't really say anything mean or I don't bash people on Facebook.
I don't cyberbully or do anything like that. If I'm gonna say something about you, I'm gonna say it to your face, not on Facebook or through a text.
I don't bully people online. I'm not vulgar or anything.
I always mind my morals when I'm social networking.
I don't do anything that I wouldn't do in person.
I don't text people I don't know.
I don't really accept friends that I've never met personally.
I get people messaging me on Facebook all the time, and I'm like, I don't know you, so sorry.
Sometimes people that I guess I thought I was friends with, they'll ask me for pictures that I would rather not send.
If somebody asks me for a picture, I'm not going to send it to them.
For social networking, you have to be very careful because, there are some people out there that, could be faking their identity.
Yeah, I'm big on Facebook, so I know you gotta keep it safe, keep everything to yourself, and don't put stuff out there that you want other people to see.
Yeah, also I wouldn't share anything that I wouldn't say in person to the actual person I'm talking to. Well, let's see what our studio guests have to say about this topic.
Okay, they are Colette, Tiffany, Lacey, Rachel, Allie, and Justin.
So how often do you social network?
And what tools do you use and why?
Well, I know I'm social networking pretty much constantly, and I use my phone, an iPod app, a computer, pretty much just whatever.
Unless you count texting, I don't social network. I don't have a Facebook, I don't have a Twitter, I don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, same. I don't have any Facebook or Twitter. I have an AIM, but no one's ever on anymore, so I'm not on that either. But I do text, but I don't make it the only thing I do all day.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook at least twice a day. Before I go to work, I'll go on. When I get home from work, I'll go on. If I'm at work, I'll go on my phone. So I don't know, it gets addicting after a while.
Yeah, like I'm definitely addicted to Facebook and like texting. I'm always texting all the time, so.
It's definitely something to do when you're like really bored. So it's just, oh, why not go on Facebook?
I know that it's like important to people to go on and it gets like addicting, but I find that it's also important that you don't go on when you're like with other people or you're not like texting when you're hanging out, because then you're not like really there with them and they kind of get bored of you just like sitting there looking at your phone and they probably won't invite you places anymore.
Yeah, that annoys me so much. My friends will come over and just text and I'm like, really? I'm right
why are
next
you
to you.
over right
Yeah,
now?
like
Yeah,
if
you
I
should be at home
Go
doing
home.
that.
Yeah, and like I just recently got a Facebook like a year ago. My mom was really kind of worried about the whole safety thing, but I really like it because you get to keep in touch with people you don't see a lot, and I think you have to be safe, but if you use it right, it could be really useful and a lot of fun.
You probably have regular access to at least one or more social networking sites.
Maybe you're one of the people who has yourself listed under a funny name to keep people from looking you up.
Or maybe you have a really strict privacy setting.
But truth be told, most of us put things out there that we wouldn't want everyone to see or read.
It can be easy to forget who is watching, reading, and making decisions about who we are based on what our profile says.
Let's meet our spotlight guest, Chloe, where she'll discuss her use of social media.
And how she protects her identity and privacy when online.
I use the social networking a lot. It's sort of addictive. The type of social networking I use is Facebook and Twitter. It's easy to connect with and talk to my friends that moved away. I can friend and ask someone to follow them on Twitter, or I can search for one of my friends and become one of their friends on Facebook. And I can talk to them, I can send them messages, I can say happy birthday to them. It's much easier than texting. You have an opportunity to block certain people that you don't want seeing them, your profile or pictures of you. My parents let me know the dangers of social networking, how it could be dangerous, and not to friend any people that I don't know and I just saw for a split second or I talked to for a few minutes. Well, I use fake information on my profile. Where I live is actually like a different country or state where I actually really want to live in the real world. And it's kind of like you're creating your own little world on the internet.
So is privacy a concern for you guys when social networking?
Privacy is definitely one of my main concerns on the internet. I know that, especially on Facebook, there's a lot of places that you can list very personal information, like your phone number, your hometown, and I make it either so that other people can't see that or that it's like fake information, because that can be really scary. And also with like your pictures that you put up, people can tell like where you are. Like if you have like a school in the background, they can see the name of the school, they can like find out where you are, and that's scary too.
I know if you upload pictures from like your phone, if you have a smartphone and you upload pictures, people can actually find out where you live from those pictures because they're from your phone.
Yeah, I actually heard a story that scared me like before I actually had a social networking. There was a girl and she had a MySpace, and I guess she must have put too much information about, you know, where she lived or where she was from or something, and someone stalked her and actually found out where she lived, and she actually got murdered. So that actually really scared me into, you know, being really careful about what I put on Facebook.
Yeah, to me, privacy is a huge concern, and that's the reason why I don't have a Facebook or a Twitter, because I feel like even with all the privacy settings, your information isn't always too secure. And I've heard too many stories about online predators, people losing scholarships over the pictures they have on Facebook, losing their jobs, so I don't want to take that risk.
Yeah, not having a Facebook definitely makes me feel a lot safer. Like, I mean, if somebody searches me, I'm not going to be there, you know? It's just, I feel a lot safer, and I don't know, people can't find me, I guess.
There was this cool thing in my computer class that we did where we Googled our names, and some of the things that came up for myself were really shocking to me, because some things that I thought were private weren't really private, and it scared me how easy it was to Google my name and find out things about me.
On Facebook, everybody has the constant need to have like thousands and thousands of friends, and I don't think those are really friends. People don't even know some of their friends on Facebook. When people friend me, I really make sure that I know them and I'm comfortable with them seeing my pictures and my posts, because everything that I put out there, they can all see. Even if I don't really talk to them, they could still see all of the things that I thought were kind of private. Yeah, and like for me, I never put where I'm going or when I'm coming back from somewhere, because I don't want people to know if I'm home or not.
Of course, there's a lot of content that we cannot control.
For instance, if your friends post an obscene comment or a questionable photo on your page, it's going to show up there, even if you decide to delete it quickly.
But what is acceptable? How aware are we of what's being said?
Would you say those things out loud or in front of your parents?
Does this virtual world mean that we can disregard virtuous behavior?
The somewhat anonymous nature of the social network can make us relax our etiquette and our morals.
We might find ourselves using language we wouldn't use in person, or saying things about others that are cruel.
Writing stays on the record, and a moment of weakness or indiscretion can destroy a friendship, break up a relationship, and really hurt someone else.
Real-life consequences can come from destructive and negative behavior in this virtual world.
Have you ever witnessed people making mean or false statements about someone?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
I know a couple of people that might have hacked into somebody's page. They might have maybe seen things or written a few things on somebody's page pretending to be them.
Kids made a Facebook group about him. They're hey, if Anthony, and they're just talking about him and making fun of him, and it was stupid.
There was actually a rumor going around in school that I had said something about a girl that had passed away, and it was totally untrue, and they were just cyberbullying me and everything. They were writing on my Facebook wall. It was horrible. I didn't go to school for a week because of it.
I don't know if anyone's heard of the smut list that went around on Facebook, but it's this huge list of girls and girls and girls who are apparently smuts, and that's so wrong. You don't put that on Facebook.
I know people in my school that have had problems with bullying online with Formspring and stuff like that, where there was a big problem and they got suspended and stuff like that.
If you did witness inappropriate messages or images, how did you respond and why?
I didn't do anything because it's not my business.
Just ignoring it. I wasn't going to add any names or add any attention to it because that just made it bigger.
I reported to Facebook, and my mom called the school that the kid went to and the other kids went to, and they had an entire assembly on cyberbullying for the kid.
My mom called the school and spoke to the principal and everything, and I reported it to Facebook, and I basically blocked everybody off Facebook.
By the time I saw anything, it was already taken care of.
I would probably tell somebody about it. I don't know. I would just flag it down because there's a flag. You could just kind of tell somebody about it if there's something going on that's wrong.
Have you or someone you know ever experienced hostility through a social networking site?
The only real thing I've heard is that two of my friends from elementary school went into a huge fight on Facebook and they ended up getting suspended from school.
I definitely experienced hostility on Facebook because there were these girls that I had a problem with in school, and they started saying stuff about me on Facebook. So the teens on the street said, my mom called the school and we told them about it, and they did something about it and they told the girls to stop.
Formspring is a big one where people just bash on you because you can go on anonymous and just write nasty things to people that just, why would you do that? That's so mean.
I used to have one, but I deleted it because some of the things that people said to me and what I saw them saying to other people, it made me so sad and upset. I got self-conscious and I was really depressed, and when I deleted it, I felt a lot better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It makes you feel really bad about yourself and just it makes you depressed.
I was at a party once and my friend took my other friend's phone, and he started texting this girl, and he was kind of flirting with her. And it was really sad because he was totally doing it as a joke. And of course the girl thought that it was my friend. That made me feel bad for her. I was like, guys, cut it out. What are you doing? This is stupid. She thinks that she's talking to someone that she trusts, and it was the complete opposite.
While the idea of social networking is supposed to be fun and friendly,
the atmosphere can quickly change when someone chooses to poke fun at or even humiliate another person online.
even the way we post messages or communicate can take on a negative tone if we're not careful.
In most cases, social networking is not a replacement for a face-to-face discussion.
We must be mindful that we don't treat it like that, especially when discussing important matters or differences.
Next, Chloe talks to us about the impersonal aspects of sites like Facebook and Twitter.
And how she minds her morality when posting to her friends and family.
It is harder on Facebook and Twitter because you have friends and you're talking to them, but you don't see you face to face. You do have a profile picture, but you don't know the expression they have on their face. You can't tell if they're angry, they're mad at you or anything, or they're just complete acting, or it's not even them. They have more courage to say things on Facebook and Twitter than they would in person. I mind my morals when I social network. I don't say negative things. about other people. I know that that could hurt their feelings. If I have a problem with somebody, that I will call them up or I will confront them in person. There have been some people I've been friends with who have been having issues with other people on Facebook that I'm also friends with, and they post some really mean things about them and the other person comments and they sort of have fights. It causes some damage to your friendship with that other person, and it kind of depresses me to know that there's some people that won't let things go and would rather confront them on Facebook or Twitter and let all their other friends, the entire world know, instead of calling them or meeting them in person. I've chosen to get involved once or twice, saying that that is not the right choice to do. I don't think you should gossip. I think that is a conversation between you and that person. You should have the same respect for people on the internet as you do in real life. It's important to know that there is a human being on the other end of Facebook or Twitter that you're chatting with. And it's good to know that you should mind your morals and remember that they do have feelings and to not say anything negative about them.
Do you mind your morals when social networking, and do you find this an easy thing to do?
It's definitely not an easy thing to do because it's much easier to say something mean to someone over the internet instead of like saying it to their face. So it kind of gives you like a false sense of courage, which isn't good.
I don't say anything to people that I wouldn't say to them in person because I feel like you're kind of lying to them, and not directly to their face, but you're lying to them indirectly. And yeah, this cop came to my school once and he made a fake Facebook profile and he friended people on Facebook. And he said that he saw so much hate and people calling each other names, and that it was really just like kind of shocking.
I definitely mind my morals because I've learned to not say anything that I would be ashamed to tell my parents.
I think sometimes it's hard though, because especially if someone says something to you that's mean or nasty, like you want to get them back. As Catholics, we sort of have to, be the bigger person and be like, you know what, I'm just going to walk away from the situation.
I agree. Like, I feel like it's easy to just like see that all your friends are posting like these comments that are like using profanity and things, and then you just kind of like want to just do it too because it's so simple. But it's harder to just like think about it before you do it. And when you see people like fighting, or if someone says something mean to you, to not write back. Like, there's this thing, I don't know if anyone knows about it, on ABC Family, I think it's from, and from like magazines, deleting digital drama. Like, if you see something bad, you delete it. You don't comment back, you don't have a fight about it, because you can't tell like how they're saying things to you. So
there was this time when I got in a fight with this girl and we were like texting, and like I said some mean things to her that I really wish that I shouldn't have said.
Once I said something really mean about a girl on Facebook, and I felt terrible after it because she saw it and I lost a friendship. And that comment that I made is always going to be there, and I just felt awful about it because I was such like a coward that I couldn't say it to her face.
I know what you mean. One time this girl, she commented back on a post like of me saying like, hey, I want to hang out with someone, like text me. And she commented back saying about how like no one would want to text me, and like I felt very hurt by it. And it was so like instant, like it was right there. I could just like reply really quickly. So we ended up getting in this argument on Facebook, and I feel like because it was so instant, and like all social networking is that way, that you don't have time to like really think about it, like what do I want to say in reply? Do I even want to reply? And it just like confuses you more and makes your responses hurtful.
Yeah, I remember one time I was in a fight with my friend, and we were texting back and forth. Texting, it made it so much easier because I know that I wouldn't say that stuff to her face. I know she wanted to call me and like try to talk about it, but I didn't want to because I know that I wouldn't be able to say like half the stuff that I could say over text.
The moral issue here is the same as in the real world.
As Catholic Christians, our call is to love one another and to treat others with dignity and respect.
And while these are wonderfully funny and clever things to say and to post, we have a responsibility for whatever we put out there.
The same codes of conduct apply. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
If we apply our faith to our social lives, both on and offline, then this shouldn't be too hard to do.
Next, the teens on the street talk to us about how we can apply our faith beliefs to social networking.
Let's hear from them now.
On the social network page, they have an information box, and you can write all about your religions, your beliefs. I keep it on private, and then if you're friend with me, I'll show you what I'm kind of about and my faith on the page, on the information boxes.
Well, I engage my faith when I'll put a scripture in as my status on Facebook or BBM. So they could do that. They could like the Bible or whatever their faith is as an app. I always share my faith on Facebook and BBM. I always say, oh, I'm going to youth group, or I'm going to church. I can't wait for church. And I post scriptures and verses from the Bible.
How do you connect your Catholic faith and social networking?
I have a Bible app on my iPod, and it's kind of useful when I'm out and like someone's talking about something, I'll just look it up real fast.
Yeah, like I know my youth group has a Facebook page, so like we all went and liked it. And I know Real Faith has a page, so I like that. I told my friends to go like it, and they were like watching the videos and stuff. So I think Facebook is like really good for getting your faith out there sometimes.
I know I connect my faith with social networking by on my Facebook page, I've posted about Real Faith TV. I linked the YouTube song of our opening, and I commented this is my Real Faith TV, and people were like, oh my gosh, what's that? And they got really interested in it, and they liked the actual page, and they got really into it too. And I think that opened them up to their faith and let them express themselves as well.
Yeah, I have a friend from youth group, and I kind of was just meeting her last year, so I friended her on Facebook and I texted her, and we always text about what we're gonna do at the next youth group meeting and ways we can get more involved in church and stuff. And I always put songs on her wall, and she always puts songs on mine, and it's a really good way to find new music, and usually it's Christian music.
On my youth group, they always put up the events for Facebook. They always make those events page, and they invite people. And I know for me, I always say yes, I'm gonna go, and then it shows up on my page, and people will comment on it and be like, oh, I'm going too.
Another thing you can do is like different pages on Facebook, and I know one that I've liked is about Jesus, and every day they post a different quote from the Bible, and also my church, they do that as well, and that's also inspiring and brings faith into social networking.
Social networking can be a wonderful tool.
We can keep in touch with that friend we made in the exchange program or our cousins on the West Coast.
But it can also be a place where we forget who we are and who we are striving to be.
Social networking sites allow us to conform the web into a world all our own.
And this is why it's especially important to keep God at the center of it.
Finally, our spotlight guest Chloe discusses how she puts God first and uses the golden rule in social networking.
And how encouraging prayer and the posting of scripture has helped her to share her faith with others.
In my perspective of the social networking, you should love your neighbors as you love yourself. And that's what I do to my friends and everybody I'm following on Twitter and Facebook. I make sure I post put God first on Facebook, and then on Twitter I love my followers, they're so supportive. I do post certain scriptures from the Bible on Facebook and Twitter, and a lot of people comment, and a lot of people retweet it on Twitter. People know that I am very close and strong with my faith. I know that my brother just went through surgery, so I do post on Facebook and Twitter to pray for my brother. Or somebody gets hurt, I say pray for this certain person, and I get 20 and 30 comments and likes and saying praying, and it's the most amazing feeling ever, and I love doing that. My family and friends definitely keep me grounded, and if something comes up on Facebook or Twitter, and I have second thoughts about it, I turn to one of my sisters or my mom or my dad, and I say, is this okay? Should I respond to this? And so it's always good to have somebody by your side.
Yeah, I think my faith definitely influences what I say and do on Facebook. I wouldn't do anything mean or say anything horrible because, you never know how they could feel about that.
My friend's sister, she just died. So after I wrote on her wall, I was like, hey, I'm really sorry, and you're in my prayers, your family's in my prayers.
By posting scriptures or prayers on Facebook, you're kind of spreading your faith to others, because a lot of my friends and some people I know, they're really not in contact with their faith, but they go on Facebook every day. So I think if maybe something comes up on their news feed that says God or says pray, they might be like, oh yeah, maybe I'll go to church today, or just to spark that little interest of faith.
Yeah, I know for my Kairos group, we have a page on ours, and it's pretty much a page where you can go and put up news or but usually people just use it as a place to put their intentions. It's always hey guys, can you please pray for this? Can you pray for that?
There was this girl that lived in my town, and she went missing, and then her parents found out that she passed away. They found her body. So her parents made like a Facebook page for her, and like everyone was writing on the wall like saying, she's in our prayers, and like everyone was praying for her. So I think that it was really nice like to have that page and know, and it probably made the parents like feel better about themselves, like knowing that everyone's praying for her, you know.
Yeah, I sometimes get like the forwards that ask to pray for people, and it's not the stupid ones like, oh, if you don't do this, you're gonna get like a curse or something. This is like, you know, the real ones, and saying praying for something, or you know, something about our faith, and then I'll send it to people who I know will pray, or even who I think it might help them, and then I'll get the replies like, oh, they're in our prayers, or yeah, I'm really gonna be thinking about this person, and that makes me feel better that I'm spreading the word about it.
Yeah, I feel like social networking is such a great way to keep in touch with friends, because obviously you're not going to be with them all day, every day. But it would be so much better if people would just mind their morals and keep God in mind when they're talking to others, and not say something that you wouldn't say to them face to face, because if you do, you might regret it later on.
I always think of the Bible quote, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And that kind of guides me as to, you know, what I post on Facebook and, you know, what I do.
As importantly as keeping our spiritual choices loving and pure, we also need to use the thinking skills God gifted us with and be smart online.
Social networking has positive applications, and it seems like it's here to stay for a while. So it's a good idea to keep yourself safe.
Ask God for the strength to give you the wisdom and guidance to make the right choices when social networking.
Whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, or whatever else comes down the pike.
You have a unique opportunity to show others your love of Christ and His church and bring them into the real relationship with God.
So, how do you share your faith when social networking?
We'd love to hear from you.
Contact us at realfaithtv.com.
Or share your thoughts with us on Twitter.
And we'll leave you today with this passage from Paul's letter to the Colossians, chapter 3.
And whatever you do, in word or in deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus,
giving thanks to God the Father through Him.
This means that when we create user profiles, photo albums, post our own pages, or comments on others,
we are always representing Christ to our social network.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Real Faith TV.
God bless.